welcome to the second series of NSN Connect, and in this series we are going to focus on CSR in India, the big picture of CSR in India, which we are going to reconstruct with the help of analyzing and understanding several topics connected with CSR with the help of our expert, Ms. Meena Ragunathan. Ms. Meena Ragunathan is the former Executive Director CSR at GMR Varalakshmi Foundation, and she has played an instrumental role in setting up the CSR function for the GMR group. And because of her passion in skill development, education, vocational education, training, and other related areas, she has been associated for decades with many initiatives in sustainable development and livelihood enablement through various organizations. Her recent book, Doing Good, Navigating the CSR Maze in India, captures her journey through the decades and provides an insider's view of CSR and various aspects connected with it. So let's go ahead and learn more about what is CSR and how it benefits the companies and the society at large through various initiatives in sustainable and inclusive development, which is very much essential for India. We are all aware that Section 135 of the Companies Act provides a legal framework for CSR and also enumerates various provisions under this act. But we also need to know how this act came about, why it was made mandatory, and also other important aspects of implementing CSR and doing good for the society. So let's go ahead and understand these aspects of CSR from Ms. Meena Ragunathan. Yeah, hello ma'am. Congratulations on publishing the book Doing Good, Navigating the CSR Maze in India. I'm sure this is going to be a very valuable resource to many people who are connected with CSR and also other CSR professionals, who are contributing to skill development, vocational training, and many other areas under which CSR funding is being utilized in India. So congrats once again from the entire team here. And on this occasion, we felt that we should feature a series of short conversations with you, which can help us learn more about the need for you to write the book, as well as, some crucial parts of the book, which can also give us an idea in a nutshell about what the book is all about, and also help us explore more. So could you please begin by showing us the book first of all and giving a gist about the book?
A pleasure, Madhuri, to talk to you in general and about the book. This is the book. It's called, as you mentioned, Doing Good, Navigating the CSR Maze in India. I, after 15 years in the CSR field, I feel that it is truly a maze.
Okay.
At one level, conceptually, there is a lot of confusion about what is CSR. And this confusion is not unique to India. Across the world, CSR is very debated, discussed. Different people have different interpretations. CSR is traditionally understood to be voluntary action. Right. But here we have a law which mandates that certain kinds of companies have to do CSR. It lays down, what counts as CSR, where it is to be done, how the decisions are to be taken, and it is a very complex law. There are many details, and also the law has been changing frequently. There are new rules and regulations brought in every now and then. So everybody, and the responsibility of CSR under the law has been given to the boards of the company. So everybody from the board, the CEOs, the CFOs, they all have responsibilities in this. And there are serious consequences if you don't meet your CSR mandates, right down to the CSR department, staff, the foundations, and the NGO implementing partners. Everybody is really kind of never quite sure of where they stand on many aspects of how to operationalize. And I have been part of, I have been in the sector from well before the law came in and well after the law came in. So, I have myself been confused on many aspects, have sought clarity, have thought that, I have got clarity and then re-confused. So I just thought I would share all that through the book, so that it might help other people think through their confusion. I'm not saying that the book gives you solutions, but it kind of says, what are the broad parameters. And so basically the book goes right from discussing what is CSR internationally, definitionally, what it is and how it relates to, many other terms which are adjacent to it. So somebody talks about triple bottom line. Today, everybody talks about ESG. Somebody talks about responsible capitalism. So what is all this? How does, after all of this is trying to ensure that business and society interactions are positive.
Right.
And, business is ultimately contributing to the good of society.
Yeah.
So that's what all of these aim towards. But there's a plethora of them. So also trying to relate that. And then coming down to how can CSR be done more effectively, impactful. And the evolving ecosystem in India now, there's a very strong ecosystem to support CSR, whether in terms of data, whether in terms of government institutions, other private sector institutions, consultants, NGOs which have come up to support this, right? So I think, what I hope is that the book will have something for everybody, right, from boards and CSR committees to senior managements. To the CSR staff of the company, importantly, obviously, and the foundations, as also the NGO implementing partners, because they are very much a strong part of the ecosystem. So I think the book will have something for everybody, though not everything for everybody.
We wanted to put the CSR in skilling and education and other initiatives in CSR in the larger framework by learning from your book, because this is a great opportunity to learn from your book about the historical perspective, the importance of CSR, and how these laws came about. We all know that there is a mandatory law, but there must be a history to it. So ma'am, let's go ahead by asking you about the historical perspective about this entire idea of social responsibility, the keywords being social and responsibility. How is it formalized and made mandatory, especially in the context of the fact that earlier it used to be all philanthropy or social welfare or charitable work. From there, the formalization must have taken quite a long journey. So could you please tell us more about it?
Sure, Madhuri. Good way to set off the, CSR journey. Well, CSR is not a new concept at all. What we mean by CSR keeps changing. Actually, even today, there is no one universally accepted definition of CSR. We talk so much about CSR, but everybody has their own interpretation. Every stakeholder has their own interpretation, even academics. So, a lot of people, in fact, criticize CSR, saying, there is no one meaning of CSR. What are you doing? You don't even know exactly what you're doing and why you're doing. And it's so ill-defined a concept, or so variously defined a concept, that nobody can quite come to grips with it. It's a long journey that has been happening. If we look at the beginnings of it, I think the desire to do good is inherent. Universally, and as people accumulate more wealth or they earn more wealth, they start feeling, I must give back in some way, something or the other. It could be a spiritual thing, it could be from religion, that this duty to give back, or it could be just a feeling of, I have done well, I must do something, this is my duty. So from somewhere that impulse is there in all human beings, and I suppose that's where the journey starts. So in the olden days, it used to be charity. Charity meaning, when you see some suffering around you, you would like to alleviate that suffering in some way. What is the way? Okay, it could be, I could give money, I could give food, I could give clothes, I could build people houses, whatever that was. So it was a charitable kind of approach. Charity essentially is good, doing good, but it is really like treating a symptom. So what I see very visually, I see hungry people, I see homeless people, I react to that. by giving them food or shelter or blankets or, somebody shivering in the cold. And whereas when you move to philanthropy, it's really about, why is this happening? Why are people going without food? Why are people hungry? Why are people homeless? So you delve a little deeper, you try to diagnose the problem, and you try to solve the underlying cause. So it's like symptomatic treatment versus diagnosis and treatment.
So you're going one step ahead.
You're going one step ahead.
Yeah.
And I always quote the skilling related example in this, which would be, you can feed a hungry man, but that's only for a day. But like we in the skilling space know that even a short 3-month intervention of a short skilling program can set a boy or a girl on the ladder of a skilled vocation. So I think that shift is very clear in skilling, for instance. So the moment you skill, I would say, you have taken a strategic step forward from just, solving a symptom. So then you came to philanthropy, which is more strategic, more diagnosis-oriented, cause-oriented, underlying reason-oriented. And then when you come to CSR, it is really when corporates start doing this. So it is the social responsibility of the corporate. Now, philanthropy can be done by individuals. It can be done by businesses also. But obviously, CSR is something done by businesses. And here the move, I think, is relating business and society. It is ideally, it is the role of business, but what they do in society and how it links back to the business. So, there's a transition and CSR has been debated across the world for decades, I would say, from the last century, 1920s, 30s. And in India also, all our big business groups, right from, the last century, 2 centuries ago, they have been contributing to societal development in some way or the other. It could be anything from building institutions like, the Indian Institute of Science, the Tata Institute of, Fundamental Research. All of this is from business money, right? Or the Birla Institutes. So there is a long history. And our history is also that businesses contributed a lot to the independence movement. If you see the Birlas or, the Bajajes, how much they contributed in terms of money, in terms of support, in terms of taking risk, because the British did not want you to support the independence movement, but still they defied the ruling, regime, and they supported them. So I would say that's also a form of, there they were trying to say, we must build up India's industrial strength. That itself was like a, social responsibility. So we have a very long and hoary history. Then, of course, after independence, the focus really was on public sector. And public sector, as you know, is huge on CSR. Not just about the money they spend, but when a big conglomerate goes and sets up in a remote area, imagine the development that happens. So public sector has social responsibility in their very existential mandate. So they have to mine coal, but they also have to do good. They have to make steel, but they have to do it while developing society. So it is a very huge part of the public sector, apart from what the law is today. And then the private sector also started catching on. Right through the 70s, 80s, there were a lot of business houses which were doing good. But then, after liberalization and general, in India, there is also a huge suspicion of the private sector on the part of society. And also, I think our human development indices were not really going that great. So somewhere, I think the government saw that there's a lot of resistance to business, industry, private companies. At the same time, there's a lot that needs to be done in society. So slowly somewhere, first there was the national guidelines, voluntary guidelines on social responsibility. But somewhere it started hitting them that, no, CSR has to be made compulsory. So right from almost 2010 or so, 2010, when the Companies Act was being revamped. The whole very old Companies Act that we had, every aspect of Company Act was being revamped. So this also somewhere entered that everybody, all big firms do CSR. It began with the thought that we are prescribing that you do spend 2% of your profits of the last 3 years. But when the law came out in 2013, it became operational on 1st April 2014. It said companies of this size, defined in 3 parameters, will spend 2% of their profits of the last 3 years on society.
So how has been the response? Like, you must have tracked the response of the company when this law was implemented. Was it taken favorably? I'm sure there must have been resistance and there must have been difference of opinion, because you have also tracked the history, right? So how was the response?
Definitely, I think initially corporate India was taken aback because, this is not done almost anywhere in the world, Madhuri. India, Mauritius has a law, for instance, saying you must spend. But Mauritius is a small country compared to India and our size. Then China, Indonesia have some directives. But India is the first major country to, put down a law saying you have to spend this much on CSR. You will spend it like this. You will spend it on this. So everybody was taken aback. They did not expect. They thought it will be a carrot and stick, more a carrot. Spend, encouragement to spend. And initially it began as comply or explain. So when the law first came out, all you had to do was companies which fell under the bracket had to spend 2%. If they did not spend 2%, you just had to, the board had to explain in their report why they did not spend. So it was a comparatively easier regime. Now it's become much more this thing. So initially, companies were taken aback. In fact, a lot of people said this is like a tax. You're increasing our tax by 2%, basically. You're reducing our competitiveness. You're making us do things which are not our core strength. How do I go about spending something on societal good? And generally there was a lot of resistance to begin with, but I think slowly companies have come on board. They are seeing that it's a good thing to do. Of course, the compliance framework is pretty complex, and companies are very, very nervous about this. Because, if you slip up somewhere or the other, you spend 10 rupees less than the mandated amount, you will get a notice, So it's quite tough compliance regime. But I think companies are happy to do the work and to see the difference they make in society. I think that is, it is giving them satisfaction.
Now I would like to connect this to the title of your book about doing good, and also I think you mentioned about being good. So between doing good and being good, how do you think this law has really taken shape? Because we see that yes, there has been response, whether it is voluntary or that mandated, totally mandated kind of a response. So between this, how would you interpret doing good and being good?
Okay, I'm trying to make the point that spending a certain amount of money on society is doing good. But the more fundamental question to ask is, how are you making that money? So it's not how you spend the money which is important. It is important, of course, but how you make the money is fundamentally about are you having a 360-degree stakeholder perspective when you take your business decisions? Are you caring about communities? Are you caring about environment? Are you caring about governance? Are you internalizing these into your business decision making? Not that let us cut all the trees here, or let us pollute this river, then we'll spend some 2% on giving drinking water to the villages. So the fundamental shift in thinking has to be, let me question how I'm making the money if I'm integrating these concerns into my business decision. If we are able to spend 2%, apart from that is very good. It's very desirable. But doing the second without doing the first is a little and what happens is, if I tick all the boxes, I spent 2%, I did an impact report, I supported this NGO, somehow you feel I am good. So that should not be the perception, that I am very socially responsible because I've ticked every box in the CSR checklist.
Yeah, in fact, what you're saying is, I need to reflect as a business person myself, if all my decisions are also falling in the area of doing good. That's when I think I realize whether I'm really contributing to the society in the larger framework, not just by, through that fund which I'm kind of, giving away, right?
Yeah.
Actually, this reminds me, ma'am, of an ad which used to come on Doordarshan long ago when I was a student. It was a Tata Steel ad. The ad never talked about making steel or their business of steel, but towards the end, it said something like, "Hum ispat bhi banate hain." But the entire ad was about social activities which were done by the Tata Group. The entire ad was about that. But the last line, I'm still reminded of it after decades, which means it made a, some kind of impact on me as a person, right? So I think that's the perception also about doing good and how you project it. So now coming back to the law, the implementation of the law which has been mandatory, is there something which is like a takeaway for the audience which you can summarize towards that is to close the session?
Okay. What the book basically does, and let me just hold up the book for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
What I try to do is, a lot of people, all of us, because we suddenly got hit with the law, it jumped from not knowing what CSR is to understanding CSR as the law. CSR in everybody's mind is, some 2% has to be spent and we have to find some NGO or we have to set up a foundation or something and do something in either education or skilling or health. So from zero, you went to an understanding without really trying to understand the concept and the framework.
Okay.
So I try to explain what is CSR, how should you look at it. And also today there are so many terms related, somebody is talking about triple bottom line. ESG has become such a catchword.
Yes.
Responsible capitalism, impact investing. Now all of these what are they trying to do? They are trying to say business, be more responsible, be more good. Right? So how does CSR relate to all these terms? What do all these terms mean? So some little insight into that, because looking at CSR alone misses the larger context. So I try to do that. And then what the book does is it goes into the details of the law. So it helps, hopefully helps people within a company or within a company's foundation to see how to implement it better. What are the responsibilities at board level, CSR committee level, CEO level, CSR implementing, persons level, or the CFO, whatever. It also tries to look from the, and so, how do you make sure that you tick all the boxes?
Yeah.
So when it says, so there are a lot of confusing things, and I've encountered this in boards and CSR committees. Like they will say the geography of your CSR is preferably around your operations. You know that is the law. How do you interpret this? I've seen boards which say, no, let's not take any risk. Just do it outside the factory. Other companies will say, no, they are saying preferably, let's take that leeway. Let us do what we think needs to be done where we need. So, some of these debates, or should you do it from within the company? What happens when you set up a foundation, or what happens when you work with an NGO? So, trying to explore some of those relationships. And also, what partnerships, the typical NGO corporate partnership, how can it be made better? And also discusses to some extent the ecosystem that has evolved. Okay. What are the networks that support? What are the agencies which support? What kind of data is available where on CSR? So, a whole section on the ecosystem. Or, if you get and this is something all of us have seen, every day you'll get a letter asking you to apply for some CSR award, right? So, what are how do you, when you get a letter, how do you even evaluate the award so that you go in only for good awards? Or if you want training in CSR, where do you go? So exploring some of those, which helps the ecosystem.
Okay.
So that's what the book tries to do.
Thank you so much for watching this episode, and we look forward to having you in the next episode as well. And do subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon so that you don't miss any updates. And in case you are a CSR professional or you are interested to learn more about CSR, and not only from the skilling and vocational education or rather education perspective, please follow us on our YouTube channel, as we will be sharing more information and connecting you with more people, professionals who are working in the space of CSR. Thank you. Goodbye. I look forward to be in touch with you.